Thank you, Mpo. Yes, 2021 is going to be another difficult year. The signs that teachers are succumbing to COVID is worrying, but there's no evidence that suggests that teachers are more vulnerable than any other part of the population. And what it tells all of us is that we all have to be more careful. The health experts have been saying since the outbreak of the pandemic that as many as 60 to 70% of us are going to get COVID, but that it's a minority of about 3 to 10%, depending on comorbidities, that will perhaps get ill and possibly die. So not 10% die, it's as low as 3%. So teachers are not more susceptible. However, teachers are frontline workers. And in the statement made by Prof. Abdul Karim on who should get access to vaccines, I noted that he said that in addition to health workers, teachers should also be regarded as frontline workers. And I think that this is correct. While children are not necessarily as likely as older people to get the virus, teachers are exposed to children all day through the work that they do. And I hope that when the vaccine comes, that they will be considered priorities.
What more support do you think needs to be provided for teachers specifically, especially looking at the huge amount of work that needs to be done and carried through from this year to the next year to ensure that learners are able to catch up on the work that they may have missed during this current academic year?
Firstly, I think that as a country, we need to realize that teachers, educators, people who support teachers carried an enormous burden last year. I am worried about the extent of burnout amongst teachers and amongst school governing bodies and school management teams that have to do the work of ensuring that schools carry on under these difficult conditions. I think we need to give teachers much more support, and we need to be less negative, as is often the narrative in the media. The DBE has been very clear that the catch-up of 2020 is going to be a 2 to 3 year process. That means that work that was not covered last year, this year, is not going to be caught up next year for several reasons. We're going to have the same processes of maximizing physical distancing by having learners attend on alternate days or alternate weeks. We still are going to be falling behind in terms of covering the basic concepts that are needed as a foundation for subsequent learning. So 2021, the catch-up is going to be carrying on to 2022, even 2023, and teachers need support in how they plan, in how they use assessment to plan their teaching. And we need, I think, as communities and as the country, to applaud our teachers and give them much more recognition for the hard work that they've put in to keep the education system going.
We heard the Basic Education Minister, Professor Metcalfe, speaking about how the disruptions of 2020 will need a longer time frame to address, speaking about a 3-year curriculum recovery plan from next year. What do you imagine to be some of the imperative pointers here when it comes to focusing on this plan next year?
So firstly, there's I think 3 things. The first is that we have to trust and support teachers in their professional judgment, working with their colleagues to make judgments about what needs to be taught on the basis of learners' needs. The curriculum is a framework document, but it cannot, as a piece of paper, determine what children already know and what they don't know. It makes that assumption. So teachers need to be very vigilant in looking at what the gaps are so that they adjust the plans for teaching to make sure that key gaps are remedied rather than just following a piece of paper in a regimented, rigid fashion. So teachers need to follow what pupils need to learn. The second thing is that the different components of the curriculum have a different structure in terms of what logically must follow. A very good example is maths. If you haven't learned a first concept, you can't build on that to apply it to the next concept. Now, teachers are going to have to, and they will be getting guidelines from the DBE, focus on ensuring that they're building conceptual understanding systematically in subjects that follow a conceptual sequence. There's some subjects where the concepts are less rigidly determined incrementally, and they're much more topic focused. So, for example, there's areas of history or geography that may be able to be trimmed if they are not building foundational concepts and skills for subsequent learning. Teachers need to have the confidence within the DBE guideline to make the selections. And we do have teachers who do that all the time, and they need more support to do it confidently within the school and from the district officers to the school.
Very well. Thank you so much for sharing your insight there, education expert, specialist, Professor Mary Metcalfe.